Our Board of Commissioners work session to order, please, October 11, 2022. First item on the agenda will be Fire Prevention Week. Our one and only Battalion Chief, Steve Leonard. State your name and address for the record, by the way.
Thanks, Mayor. Battalion Chief Steve Leonard, Owensboro Fire Department. Chief Howard asked me to come talk with you a little bit about what we were doing this week and last week. Fire prevention. Well, for us in our line of work, fire prevention is every week. It's not just 1 week out of the year. It's commemorated by the, if you remember your history books, the Great Chicago Fire that occurred in 1871. And typical Americans, when bad things happen to us, we go, let's see if we can make sure that never happens again. And sometimes we have to learn that lesson repeatedly, and that's the same thing that we talk about with fire prevention and fire safety. While it sounds like kid stuff to you, that's just something we do. We talk to the kids, but fire doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter whether you're 9 months old or 90 years old. So in our community, do we have a fire problem? All communities have a fire problem. Do we ever have a fire problem with making sure people get out of burning structures when there's a fire? Not so much in business occupancies, but when you look at the amount of fire deaths that occur across this country every year, you start to realize how serious the problem is. Last year, and this doesn't sound like a big number to you, we had 40,000 business fires. And while that sounds not so big, we had over 400,000 home fires. The place you lay your head down at night where you feel the safest is oftentimes the place you'll likely lose your life in a fire. We go to sleep there. We do some crazy things in our castles. Our homes are our castles, but we do some things in there sometimes that cause some real problems. And when we look at the amount of fire deaths that occur, most 88% fire deaths occur in single-family dwellings, homes like yours and mine. As a matter of fact, we had roughly 40,000 deaths from single-family dwelling fires last year across this country. Now, we're all going to leave this world one way or another. We'd all like to be 112 years old and die in our sleep, but it's likely not going to happen. If I give you a list of the ways of leaving, burning to death in the fire would probably be number 10. Our job as a community is to keep that from happening. One of the ways we do that is through life safety education. We do the inspections we could do to keep the community safe. And again, we really tout this during Fire Prevention Week because we know that people have millions of things on their mind, and this is something they typically don't think about. But they need to have this in the back of their mind, just like wearing your seatbelt in a car. You may never have an accident, but if you do, you're likely to survive it if you have that seatbelt on. The same thing applies to fire safety. I started a program about 25 years ago, give you any indication of how long I've been doing this fireman gig. 25 years ago, where if you could not afford a smoke detector, we would give you a smoke detector. If you could not afford the battery for the smoke detector, we would give you the battery for the smoke detector. If you were unable to put your smoke detector up, we would send an engine company out, or I would go out personally and put that smoke detector up for you. That's how important I think they are. I've dealt with over 50 fire deaths in my career, either as a firefighter or a fire investigator. I can tell you this, I have never dealt with a fire death where working smoke detectors were inside of a home. If that's not a testament to the working smoke detector saving your life, I don't know what is. I have been to many fire deaths where there were no smoke detectors or smoke detectors that were not up to date and were not working inside homes. So that program has been very successful. I remember when I touted that program to Chief Magdalena, he said, we're not going to do that, you're going to break the budget. And in reality, most people buy their smoke detectors. They're not expensive. It's one of the cheapest things you can do to stay alive, having that smoke detector and plan of action. So we've given a lot of smoke detectors away. We've given a lot of batteries away. We do door knocks and go and canvass areas of town that we feel like need that. And we've given many smoke detectors away. We've installed those. My preference is to install them for them. One of my partners in Louisville, Donnie Cummings, is the fire marshal for Louisville Fire Department, and they had the same program up there, and they would give the smoke detectors away at different events and so forth, and he failed at that. He said, I felt like I failed. It really wasn't him, but we failed because we give 4 smoke detectors to a family, and about a month later, we went to that house fire, and what happened was the parents worked at night. The oldest kid was about 13 and all the way down to about 3. They would lock them in the house at night, and believe it or not, and then they would go to work. And they had a fire in that house that night. Well, all the kids lost their lives. When they went in to do the investigation, they found the 4 boxes of smoke detectors sitting on the mantle of the fireplace. So there's not a real assurance that those smoke detectors are up unless we put them up and we check them for them. So that's our goal, is to make sure that we do that. Now, school's out this week, so last week, and your little PowerPoint up there, I'll try to get all this to work right. What we did is, and what we do and have been doing for about 25 years, is we take every second grader in the city of Owensboro and we run them through our fire safety program. Basically, we're teaching them EDITH, exit drills and home, making sure they have the ability to get out. There's nothing that will devastate a neighborhood more than little Johnny or Susie dying in a fire down the street. The only thing that's worse is if little Johnny or Susie belongs to you. So we make sure these kids know how to get out of homes. We make sure they know what a smoke detector sounds like, to crawl low under smoke, to have two ways out, not break the window out, but know how to properly open it and not go back in. We have had situations where mom and dad get everybody out and then they go back in to save what they think is valuable, and the house is on fire, it's filling with smoke, and they turn around and little Johnny or Susie's standing behind them. They're frightened, they're scared. They feel like if you can go back in, I can go back in. So we teach them how to not do those things and the proper thing to do. We talk about stop, drop, and roll, 911, all the things, just the smart things you need to know in life. And it pays off for us, and we have seen that. You often wonder how much and how effective fire and life safety is. You look at the numbers in a community our size, and I'm always reluctant to say this because we could lose 20 people tonight in an apartment complex or other than that. So you're really reluctant to do that, but a community our size, we typically lose between 3 and 12 people every year in fires. We're well below that, but we are very aggressive, and we're good at multitasking because there's not enough of us to do it. We're very aggressive in life safety education in our school system, in our community, in our churches. Anybody that will listen to us about fire safety, we will talk about fire safety with them because, again, it's not kid stuff. It affects everyone. So we go in the community, we do that for our community out there, making sure that we cover those areas. And it's not just fire safety anymore. We've got what we call a risk watch, not wristwatch, R-I-S-K, watch program, that we talk about 14 different areas to keep your kids from 3 years of age to 14 years of age safe. It could be anything from what happens when Junior finds the family firearm over in the headboard of the bed, to bicycle safety, to pedestrian safety, to those things that injure or kill that group of kids. So we address those in modules all through the school year. And it's been very effective for us. That's how you know it's working, is because the numbers are down. And when you look at communities our size, they should be much higher than they are. So it's paying off for us. So we feel like it's effective. Again, the smoke detectors are the big thing that we push throughout the year. We don't just do this during Fire Prevention Week, we do it throughout the year. So we think it's important. I think our community thinks it's important, and we're going to stay after that. Questions for me?
Any questions?
Hot dog. Thank you.
Just like, Chief,
Yes.
do you do parochial schools too, not just city schools?
Every school.
Every school. Okay,
Every
you said
school.
second graders in the city school system, so I just wanted to,
Well, all city schools, I should have said.
well, that's all right, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to point.
All
clarification
private
myself.
schools, everybody. We touch everybody, and not just second graders. We've got a program that goes all the way through 5th grade. And as a matter of fact, we talk to a lot of senior groups about fire safety.
That
So
was
we're
my
talking
next
to everyone.
question was, you
Yeah.
get to senior citizens.
Yes, sir.
groups and stuff.
We
Thank
cover
you,
it
sir.
all.
I appreciate you. We appreciate you. Okay, next item on the agenda, the proverbial leaf collection. Caleb Gray, sanitation manager. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Caleb Gray. I'm sanitation manager. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'd like to give you a brief presentation of what the 2022-23 leaf season is going to look like. This year we'll be starting in Zone 10A, which is identified by the red star on the map there. The north and south boundaries are East 25th to Weichel Drive. East and west boundaries are J.R. Miller to Veach Road. During the leaf season, we will complete 3 passes, which consist of 10 zones per pass. Some of our target dates that we hope to hit during the season, the first pass we like to get done about the middle of November, November 18th. Second pass around that Christmas time, December 23rd, 25th, right in there. The third pass we will finish up February the 15th. That will include all of the call-in piles and any missed piles or piles that were brought out after we had already gone through. So we hope to be we will be completely done on February the 15th. These are goals that we just established before the season starts, and historically, these goals we reach pretty consistently. Mother Nature does play a significant role in it, but we're able to get through it. 3 methods of disposal. All year long, you can bag your leaves in a bag or a can, and we'll collect that throughout the year, just like we do yard waste, limbs, and things like that. Another option is the orange dumpsters that are on the northwest corner of the Sports Center parking lot. And of course, we've got the vacuum trucks that we operate. We try to keep 5 to 6 trucks out there at any given time. Sanitation Department will contact the newspaper and WBIO at the conclusion of each day, informing them what zones we will be working in the next day. Residents can also find which zones we will be working in that day on the city website. There will also be Facebook posts updating our progress and projections. Something fairly new is the text alerts to inform them what zone we'll be working in the next day. The link to sign up for that is on the city website. Some of the ways that you can help us out is just be ready. That's the biggest thing. Is we can't go back. We've got a schedule that we need to stay on. So the biggest thing is be ready. Don't block your piles. Don't wet them down. They obviously, the cold weather, they get frozen, and it's extremely hard on the machines. Rake the leaves to not in the curb. To obviously. There's a flooding concern when they're in the curb, so we prefer them to be on the edge of the grass next to the curb. And just kind of put into perspective, last year we collected just over 2.3 million pounds of leaves. So it's when they start coming down, we're hitting it pretty hard. And our hours of operation are 6 to 2:30. As the demand is there, we'll increase the hours to 4:30, 10-hour days, and then we'll work about a half a day on Saturday, 6 to about noon, just to meet those deadlines. And so we're ready to go. All the equipment is been looked over, and we'll hit the ground running on Monday. That concludes my presentation. Is there anything any questions or anything I can answer for you?
Any questions? I have one. What do you do with all the leaves?
They go to the transfer station, and then they haul them out to the landfill, and they actually make compost out of it.
2 million pounds of leaves. I just wonder whatever happened to them.
It's
like a nice bonfire, wouldn't it?
It would be, yes. And they resell it, to my understanding, but we drop off at the transfer station, and then they haul out to West Louisville at the landfill.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I've got.
Yes, sir.
2 quick questions. So is it all city employees doing this, or are we using some subcontractors?
It's subcontractors, so we utilize People Mart, and we get 12 seasonal temps on board to operate 6 trucks. The drivers are full-time city employees. The boots on the ground, if you will, are the seasonal temps.
Okay, and then my last question is the safety factor for people driving. Do you have any advice for people? Do we need to slow down? What do we need to look for so we don't cause a problem while we're driving?
And that's a good question. We obviously it's a slow moving process. We operate at about 2 or 3 miles an hour, so we just ask that you just use good judgment. We've got all the safety lights and features that we need, but just be aware that we will be out there, and we'll do our best to stay out of the way. But unfortunately, we're right there in the line of traffic.
Well, your service is one reason a lot of people annex into the city, so I appreciate all the hard work you and your crews are going to do.
Thank you, sir.
Great work.
Thank you.
Mr. Castleman?
Yeah, I was wondering, what's your biggest challenge that the public puts on the leaf collection that you think might need to be addressed to let them know?
I would say just being ready, have it, just be aware of when your collection zone, what your collection zone is, and when we will be there. We give our best effort, we make our best effort to give people an advance notice of when they should expect us, and just move, the parked cars are an issue each and every year. Having to work around them kind of slows us down. So if you just make every effort to make that pile just clear for us, to where you can just move along and no hiccups or anything like that. Yes, sir.
Assistant City Manager Leland Hancock, thank you for being here with all you got going on. Do you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make one statement. I think it's pretty safe to say Caleb has been with the City of Owensboro for several years now, and he's served in just about every role, from driving the leaf truck to managing the department. So rest assured you're in good hands, and the citizens of Owensboro are in good hands during leaf season or any other type of issue with him there, and I thank him for his service.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
We wouldn't expect anything else from you. Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, training facilities update. Leland Hancock.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Coming up this year, basically, we hope for mid-October. We're looking now, it looks like the end of October, early November. We had a little delay with our civil engineering firm, working through that now. But what you're looking at currently above you or in front of you is a 9,200 square feet new training center to replace our existing. I noticed in Battalion Chief Leonard's presentation some of the children and things going to the current center, as Battalion Chief can probably speak to as well. We have a dated and somewhat antiquated training center that needs to be replaced. So we've got a lot of happy firefighters. I can't thank enough of Chief Howard, Battalion Chief Leonard, Tate, and Pickrell for their efforts in helping design this new facility. It's something I think that will help attract and retain firefighters, and something that is long overdue, if I'm not wrong, Battalion Chief Leonard. So this will allow for the tan area. Will be 3 training bays where they can actually bring apparatus in that they cannot do currently. They can train during cold weather, rain, those types of things. They can also use that for a larger covered training area. On the right, in the light kind of baby blue, is their actual classroom space. Then as you see in the green area, those are decon areas where they come in and shower and the different things when they're out training, and clean up and get ready to go back out and serve this community with the different public safety issues that they have. We'll also have a 4-story fire tower that will be there. This is one of the hallways, conceptual what this will look like. Well, it's more than conceptual, it is basically the colors that the fire department have chosen. You'll have kind of a display wall on the right where you can have some of your pictures from the history folks within the department to show kind of a lineage of what's gone on, from apparatus to chiefs to individuals that have been there, and give a pretty good description of the number of years. What was the first year, Chief, you said that you began fire service? 1866. So they've been fighting fires and protecting the citizens of Owensboro for a long time.
You remember that, don't you, Mark?
And they do a fabulous job. This is the Bay Area that I was speaking to, that they'll be able to pull the apparatus in and utilize that for training, and it is something that they are very excited about, and we are as well. You're looking at about a $5 million project, and hopefully we'll have that out on the street early November. And we pray with COVID and some of the effects we've had on the market that we will get good bids, but I feel pretty comfortable about this number, and I think the department will be quite happy when it is complete.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Sanford.
Yes, Lee, are we keeping the old Hearts building, or what are we doing with, so that will be, is that part of this or a separate part?
It's actually separate, but we purchased the old ABC
Yeah.
rental building so that they could have a classroom to work in, and they, are still required to train, obviously.
Right.
Even though we're tearing down a good portion of the center, but they won't have that burn room, and they will not have the tower. Those pieces will be torn down and then replaced in their classroom. So they'll be able to move to the ABC building. But the reason we needed that property was to expand that area so that they could move the apparatus around the lot. And with the new tower location, they'll have the ability to do things that they can't do currently. Okay. There are, changes in the technology, changes in safety issues, the high rope training that they do so they can lower through some of the floors as they go in to do rescues. There's actually like a theatrical smoke that they can use. So they don't have to actually have real smoke in there for some of the early and beginning stages. And then they will introduce smoke as well in there, and I have actual heat and fire. So when the firefighters come out, that they have, training-wise, when they hit the street, they have been through some of those issues and faced, some of those initial pieces that you need to know of so that they're not scared or afraid. I won't say not scared or afraid, but they're not new to those activities when they actually go into a home that's on fire and saving someone's life. So that facility will actually give us an additional storage area for some of their equipment and supplies and provide that classroom space in the interim.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Magling?
Leland, the county fire departments will still get to use this facility.
That is correct. And the county did donate $250,000 towards this project.
Okay, thank you.
Chief Leonard, could you tell us, from the time someone gets selected to be on the fire department, kind of the process that goes on before they can get into riding a truck or whatever you want to call it?
Well, most people are considered basic training. But first of all, you have to take an aptitude test. You apply for the fire department, general aptitude. What we're looking at now is our folks being at least an associate's degree. A vast majority of our people have bachelor's degrees and so forth when they apply for the position. Once they're selected, they go through a background check. Of course, the physical agility, it's an arduous job. You have to be physically fit enough to do that job. So there's a lot of pre-testing before you're ever hired. You go through a battery of interviews following that, and from that selection, you pick your candidates. Background checks, so forth. Make sure that is the right candidate for the job. Then they're going anywhere from 12 to 14 weeks of basic training, and it's not just firefighting, it's hazardous material. They go through their EMT training, EMS training. We've started ALS service in the community. We're not transporting, but we provide that ALS service, so it's advanced life support training. So it is a very busy and arduous period of time, and it does fit the criteria for boot camp when they go through this, because it is very arduous, it is very hard, it's very demanding of these people. The reassurance that we get as a community is once these guys hit the street, they know what they're doing. They don't have the experience in years, but they have the basic knowledge to provide that service and be an effective member of that engine company, truck company, or rescue squad.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. No other questions? We'll go to the city project list. Leland Hancock, please.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well,
I believe each one of you have had time to review the list. We're happy to answer any questions you may have on any individual project.
Any questions? Commissioner Sample?
It's not on the list, but we had talked in the past about signage, new signage, and like an entrance to downtown. I don't know if that's still being worked on or where we are.
Yeah, we were actually, I'll let Kevin Collian speak to this as well. Engineering department is working on the wayfinding signage, getting you basically from the bypass into downtown. So you'll have larger signs getting down to smaller directional signs within the downtown area, and then some interactive, I'll say interactive, but electronic maps that will be downtown for the changing businesses and different pieces that we have now, more of a fixed map just to kind of keep up with the changes and things that are going there. They've got those documents just about ready. We've been working with the state on font, on locations, on all the different rules and regulations, placement, site triangle issues, and our city engineer, Kevin Collian, and his group have done a great job on that. Hunter Reagan has actually taken the lead on that within the engineering department and has done a fabulous job. Once that piece is bid and completed, we know where we stand monetarily. We're ready to move forward on the second piece, which will be that entry sign.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Commissioner Magling?
Thank you. I noticed that the northwest area, the private investment has gone over, what, 4.6 million. Gosh, when you drive down there, you can tell people are rehabbing, and it really looks good. So, doing a great job on that.
Yeah, they've been very successful there, so we're quite pleased.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
We got one.
You got one
Were
question?
we able to get the water issue resolved at, I'm losing my mind here, but yes, well, no, the part where the boat dock is, it'll come to me, where we usually have the, I don't know what's right, but there was a water problem, there was no water. You remember which park it was?
English Park?
English, yeah, English, sorry, thank you.
I'm trying to remember the issue we were facing there.
Well, I was getting reports that there wasn't any, the water fountain wasn't working, the toilets weren't working, et cetera, and so I don't know if we got that resolved or not.
Now, we had closed those restrooms previously because of the high volume of vandalism that we had been experiencing there.
Right.
I can't count how many times. I'll let Stephen Franklin speak to that, our Public Works Director, but all of the toilets, the fixtures were smashed 6 or 8, 10 times, possibly. So we had to close that down just because of that activity until we can get those things under control. Stephen, if you want to speak to that.
And just as a sidebar is that I know a lot of our facilities use the metal toilets because they're tougher. Was that the case at English?
It's a mixed bag. There are some locations that have those, some that do not. Some individuals and neighborhood alliances are not happy about the metal fixtures. Some we've had to replace, like at Chautauqua. They actually were cutting park benches in half with chainsaws, and they would leave us messages on the picnic tables and things. And they get quite creative when it comes to vandalism. We've had a pretty good stretch here recently, but there are always those items that occur.
And Commissioner, to answer your question, the issue at English Park has been resolved. To Leland's point, that facility is locked unless there's a special event or something to that number. But what we were battling is vandalism. Somebody had vandalized the drinking fountain on the exterior of the building. Somebody had broken into the interior of the building, caused flooding. So we try to keep those locked and secure unless there's an event.
And do we have cameras in terms of detecting who did this? Do we have cameras down there that would help us ID who's doing this?
We do have cameras. I don't know if the individual or individuals have been identified. I can't speak to that, but yes, there are cameras in that area.
Well, appreciate your hard work. That's got to be very frustrating and obviously a huge expense to the taxpayers in the city. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions on the project list? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.